homeschooling mom of two, and I am a Homeworks by Precept consultant. Today I have the privilege of showing you BJU Press Homeschool's Math 2 curriculum. So we're going to talk about the Math 2 Teacher Edition book, the Math 2 Student Work Text, the Math 2 Student Review book, and the Math 2 Student Manipulative Packet. So let's start out today by looking at the Math 2 Teacher Edition. This book is super important to me as mom and teacher because this is where the lessons are that I will be using to present the material to my student for the day. So let's take a look inside. The very first thing I find at the beginning of the book is the table of contents. This will give me an idea of the concepts that I will be teaching throughout Math 2. If you notice that sometimes the topics will repeat themselves. For instance, in Chapter 7, we're talking about subtraction with 2-digit numbers, and in Chapter 12, we're talking about subtraction with 3-digit numbers. In between those chapters, we don't have any focus on subtraction. However, during these chapters, we will be reviewing the information we learned from Chapter 7 about subtraction with 2-digit numbers. This is one of the ways that BJU Press Homeschool helps students achieve mastery in their math concepts. They will focus really hard on one topic, take a little break, review those concepts, and then when they come back and they add in that third digit for subtraction, they will have already understood the concepts from subtraction with 2-digit numbers, and they're ready to add more. They're ready to go deeper in the idea, so they're ready for those 3-digit numbers when they're subtracting. As you look at this table of contents, you notice that during Math 2, they will be doing math with times and calendars and measurements. They will also be adding and subtracting 2- and 3-digit numbers. They will also be doing some multiplication. They will also be talking about some fractions, some shapes, and we even begin division at the end of this book. This is some information about BJU Press and their approach to math. We also have a page about instructional materials that we will be talking about today. And there is a sample lesson. If you're ever in the middle of a lesson and you can't figure out where something is, this sample lesson is a great place to reference back to because it will give you hints on where to look for something. Sometimes in the notes, there might be something on the Teacher Toolkit CD at the back of the book. This is a good place to reference back to see where did they put that. And this is at the very beginning of the book. There's also a page of review features and teaching tips. And this is all good information to read when you get your TE. Now these pages I get excited about, especially when I am planning my lessons. I like to know what we have just finished, what we are about to do, and where we are going in our math lessons. And the scope and sequence is a great place to do that. When I'm making my plans for the week, I can quickly see here's lesson 1, here's the TE pages I need, here's the work text pages I need to assign for my student, this is the skill focus, here's our practice and review topics, and even our Bible truths, so that I know how to link it back to our Bible truth lessons. So this is the scope and sequence. There is a section for every single chapter in the scope and sequence. And if you notice, they're all different colors. These are actually color coordinated with the colors in the chapter. And these colors also match your student work text. So it's a great way to quickly see if the student is in the right pages for that day's lesson. I'm going to go ahead and jump now to Chapter 3. This is the beginning of Chapter 3, and at the beginning of every chapter, there is a more detailed plan of what will be covered in that chapter. When I look at this page, I see the lesson numbers, the topics, the lesson objectives, and the best part is the chapter material list. I can see on this one page all of the stuff I need to get ready to go for this chapter in order for us to be successful. I have our visual packet charts, our manipulative packet items, and any other items. In this particular chapter, I need a cone, a cube, a cylinder, a sphere, and a rectangular prism. And when I turn the page, I might get a glimpse of why. The beginning of the chapter always starts with a story about Matt and Patty. Matt is a construction worker who builds houses, and Patty is his pet beaver. They travel all around the world building different types of houses. In this particular chapter, Matt and Patty are building an igloo, and they have to cut these ice blocks into the shapes they need to be able to build the igloo, which is probably why I needed those shapes for my items for this chapter, because we are going to be talking about different types of three-dimensional figures. Each chapter has these little stories. These are great ways to get students excited about the information they will be learning about, and Matt and Patty come into most of the lessons and add a little bit of information at the beginning of the lesson just to get a student excited and engaged in the lesson at the beginning. So here is lesson number 21. I can see lesson 21 up at the top corner. I also can see my work text pages to assign to my student, in this case, pages 42 through 44. I also see my math review pages that I need to assign, pages 39 through 40. There are also my objectives, my materials that I need, and notes to myself. Then I always start my chapter or my lessons with a practice and review section to review previous concepts. And then I have my introduce the lesson section right here. This is where Matt and Patty normally present information to the students to get them excited about the day's lesson, or they might even share information about the area of the world that Matt and Patty are currently traveling in. Then I see there's a section called Teach for Understanding. This is going to be the main part of my lesson for the day. And when you see these pages, you notice that there are several different color fonts used. Anything in black is for the teacher to read as notes to themselves. Anything in blue is what I would be saying to my student, and anything in red is what I hope my student says back to me when I ask them the question in blue. I also see that I have the answer key to the assignment for the work text for the day built into these lesson pages. Now, at the bottom of the lesson, there's usually a little spot that says work text pages, in this case 43 through 44, and then it gives me instructions on how to complete these worksheets. In today's instructions, it says read the directions and guide the completion of pages. Sometimes you will be working out problems with your student. Sometimes you will need to explain what the pictures are for the page, and other times they might just tell you to guide the completion of the problems. Now, as you are working through this, if you see that your student needs a little bit extra help, maybe they need more example problems, there is more example problems that I will show you in a few minutes, or you can also choose to work out some of these problems with your student. At a quick glance, I see that problems 1 through 6 all have a number line. So maybe if I were to work out problems 1 and 2 with my student just to give them a little bit more extra practice, then they would be able to work on 3 through 6 on their own. You can modify these lessons as you need to so that your student can understand the material. The goal, after all, of Math 2 is for them to master the concepts in this course. So if you need to modify so that your student can master this material and have a deeper understanding, then go for it. Modify as you need to. Also on this lesson, we have an extended activity. Not all of the chapters or lessons have extended activities every day, but in this case we do. So let me show you where these extended activities are. In the back of your TE, you have a CD. This is called the Teacher's Toolkit. There are quite a few resources on this CD, and that includes those enrichment and extra extended activities. Now, the extended activity might just be some little demonstration or just a little hands-on activity for you to do with your student. There are also enrichment activities or worksheets that you can give. If your student really excelled in the lesson and you want to give them another challenge, this is a great way to do it with the enrichment activities. Let me give you an example of what that might be. In the lesson for this page, students were beginning to understand how long a minute is. So the instructions on this page says, look at the items below, guess how many of each item you could do in 1 minute, then ask a partner to time you for 1 minute. and then see how many you can actually do. So you could clap your hands, 10, bounce a ball, say the alphabet, and you're taking a guess, and then you're recording how many you can actually do, just to get a deeper understanding of how long a minute actually is. Here's another example of an enrichment activity. This one says use the following numbers to make the largest sum you can, and they gave the numbers 2, 4, 7, and 8, and then they gave us boxes for us to create sums. So this would be following a lesson where they've talked about adding 2-digit numbers, and now we're going to apply that knowledge that we just learned about adding, and we're going to expand on it and make it a little bit more challenging. Let's see how big our sum can be. So this is the enrichment activities. These are great for students who just need that extra little push to make them be challenged, or maybe you want to have them think outside the box and be more creative with their math. So these are great enrichment activities. Also on the CD are reteaching worksheets. If you find that your student needs more examples, the reteaching worksheets is a great place to go. You can print those reteaching worksheets out, you can work on those problems with your student, and then you could assign the assignment afterwards, and this is a great way to get extra problems. Also on the CD are some reproducibles. These reproducibles are also in the back of your book, so you can copy as needed for use with your student from your book or from the CD. There is also visual packets on the CD. The visual packets are going to be pictures that go with your lessons. Some lessons have visuals, some do not. But what I like to do is I like to take the CD, put it on my computer, and download those visual packets to my computer. And then I like to upload those to my Google Drive or my OneDrive, somewhere, my cloud. And then that way it'll sync with my phone or my tablet, and I can use that during our lessons for the day. And that way I don't have to turn my computer or laptop on every single day. Also on the CD is the review book answer keys. So your students have the review book. The answer key is a PDF file on the CD, so you can also upload that to the cloud as you need to as well. So this is the Math 2 Teacher Edition book. This is the Math 2 student work text. On the front cover, we have a picture of Matt and Patty. They'll be traveling around the world with us through Math 2. When I open the book, I notice that this is an easy remove binding. So when I look at the assignments, I see that an assignment is 1 page, front and back. So I could easily tear this page out and hand it to my student to keep track of for the day. Afterwards, I could easily 3-hole punch this and put it in a binder to keep track of the pages for the remainder of the year. I'm going to flip through so you can see some of these pages. Every page is in color, and they're kind of fun pictures to look at. You may notice that every second page or the back side of the page has a review section. These reviews cover previous information from previous chapters. We love it when Matt and Patty show up in our pages. Patty's usually doing something silly. We like to see that. So again, lots of reviewing throughout the entire year. Then we also have chapter reviews at the end of each chapter. The chapter review is front and back, 1 page, front and back, and that would cover everything we would need to know from that chapter. All the highlights from chapter 2 would be on this chapter review. After that, there's also a cumulative page. This is just one-sided. The other side is something completely different. This is a cumulative review. This would cover everything that we've done in the previous chapters from this book. And then on the back side of that is always the picture that goes with the story that I get to read about Matt and Patty. So earlier when we were looking at the TE, we saw that picture with Matt and Patty getting ready to build that igloo. Well, here is the correlating page and picture for the student to look at while I'm reading the story. So this is the Math 2 student work text. So this is the Math 2 student review book. This is where I would come if I wanted to assign some more problems for my student to work. Maybe he didn't understand all of the topics in our work text. This is where I would go to assign more problems that are similar to what he was doing in the work text. We could work some of these out together. We could work on them individually. I probably would not assign every single problem. That's a lot of problems in one day. Maybe I might do every other. Maybe I would do just the odds or just the evens. or maybe I would just assign the ones that he needs more practice in. When I'm flipping through this, you may notice that the front part is usually the part that would be related to the lesson for the day, and the back is usually review from previous concepts. There is also a chapter review in each chapter in this book, so this would be more practice to review for the entire chapter. There's also a cumulative review at the end of every chapter, and it would also be front and back. So again, when you're assigning these problems, you probably don't want to assign every single one. Pick and choose based on the strengths and weaknesses of your student and what you want them to practice more of. So this is the review book, and just a reminder, the answer key for this book is on the Teacher Toolkit CD at the back of your Teacher Edition book. The last thing I'm going to show today is the Math 2 Student Manipulative Packet. When you first open up this packet, you'll find that there is a preparation list on the outside cover. This list will suggest how to store these materials and which pieces you should keep together. All of the manipulatives are printed on cardstock, and they already have been punched. You just need to finish punching it out, so they're very easy to remove. So we start out with a clock. We also have a cardstock picture of Matt and Patty that we can use with the backgrounds that they have provided to help us with the stories. We also have cards to help us with place values. Here's the ones card, and the tens card, and the hundreds card. Then they give us some numbers, and notice on the back of these numbers, it actually writes out the words so we can help with word recognition as well as the number value. They give us a ruler in inches. They also give us a ruler in centimeters, and they give us operation cards. Here's some more numbers. They also give us one squares. We have lots and lots of one squares. More measuring. Here's a thermometer. We get shape cards. These are circles. We also have triangles, squares and rectangles, hexagons and trapezoids, a few more rectangle squares, and some octagons and pentagons. We get some Patty punch outs that we could use as counters if we needed them, and some construction workers. Now if you have a can of change, that's always useful in the money chapters, but if you don't, they do have punch outs of the different coins that you'll be using in Math 2. They also have some of the bills that you'll be using. Then remember those one squares we saw earlier? Well, here are the 100 squares and the 10 strips. We'll be using these to practice with grouping throughout Math 2. I'm going to skip ahead because there's lots of those. And here we are with the fraction bars. I really like this bar because here's the 1 whole bar. And then if I were to punch out the 1/2 and the 1/2, I could set it on top of this 1 whole and it should cover the whole thing. So then I know if it's actually 1 whole when I use my fractions. And we have that for halves, thirds, fourths, fifths, and sixths, and even 7ths, 8ths, 9ths, and 10ths. And they should all fit when you put them onto your 1 whole bar. They should all fit there. We also have some 3-corner flashcards. These are for adding. You could also use them for subtracting. And on the back, you have your answers. And you could also quickly review your fact families for adding and subtracting. We have quite a few of those. And that's going to finish out our manipulative packet with those cards. Lots of fact families. We really want to make sure our students understand and know their facts before they move into Math 3, and we know that they're going to learn by practicing it. So that is Math 2. The only part of Math 2 I didn't show today was the Math 2 tests and the Math 2 test answer keys. These do come with the parent-led textbook kit, or you can purchase them individually as needed. In the packet, there will be a test for the end of every single chapter in Math 2. You can use these right after the chapter review just to make sure that the student has really grasped all the concepts in that chapter. If you have any questions about Math 2, feel free to reach out to your local Homeworks by Precept consultant. We would love to answer your questions. I hope you have a great day.